Good morning, folks. Sometimes people be asking, what do you be doing when you be sitting there? So I sit here and I read I'll be looking at the question that the person sends me, and so when I say to y'all, I like to just look at the question and just go at it. That's what I do. Instead of just like sitting up practicing and thinking about what I'm gonna say, I just look at it and then just go for it this morning. Okay, I'm getting ready. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another morning with Unscripted. So this topic today, it's not a new thing. This issue of this woman has. It's not a new thing by far, especially in church, or just like in this day and time. In this day and time, more there's women who maybe they're not like, serious holy rollers, or they go to church all the time. But if we being 100, most women, even if they don't want a guy to be like he a preacher and all these things, they at least want the guy to reverence God or respect God, or if they want him to go to church, blah blah blah. That's what they want, shy of him already being that. So with that, I'm going to go into so that's why when I read her question, it's not real long. It's a little lengthy, but not real long. I tried to shorten it with the title. That's why I said, to me, what I got out of what she told me was it's me, him, or God. She's basically, she says, I'm a single Christian female who has a pretty great relationship with God. I do desire a husband, and I've met someone who I've grown quite fond of. He treats me well and is there for me whenever I need him. She says, in all honesty, I have shared with him my desire to withhold sex until marriage, and he said that's fine, but we've already failed. When she say failed, she's saying we already had sex twice. Twice. She said the human side of me really enjoys him, but the God side is saying no, because he won't respect you or likely close the deal of marrying me in the end. Then she says, he wants it, but I can't. I want it, but I won't. We had sex twice. I want to keep my relationship with God intact and want him to come into the church as well. He's a non-believer, but he's a great man. What do I do here? Back up, she says he's a non-believer. I'm talking about a church woman. This is a church woman, or a woman that's trying to, further her relationship in Christ. She says he's a non-believer, but a great man. What do I do here? This is a common plight too. I said this is just something I've talked about for years with people, friends. Like I said, I grew up in church, so this plight here is not new to me at all. But this is what I say. Women in church versus men in church. Here's the difference. A lot of times women can agree with me when they say, oh, half of them just as bad as men in the street, if not worse. You're probably right. But in some cases, let me fix that. In some cases, here's the kicker to that. I say to people like this all the time. In church, if you're really in church, I'm not talking about somebody just show up on Sunday, drop an offering and leave. But I'm talking about if you're really in church and you really are part of that ministry, whether that means you are connected, like you're a body part of that ministry, you're connected, you are working in ministry or something like that. There are, let's just be clear, there are restrictions that come with that lifestyle. Like, the preachers will preach about it every Sunday about living holy, clean, and all these things. And so even though we're human people and we're prone to error, in church you'll find more people, at least on the surface, they are trying to cope, to get along, to go along, because no one wants to feel like they are shaming the ministry, their brothers or sisters. This is if they get caught in whatever they're doing. So people just kind of want to just let me stay the part and look the part, and people can stay out my business, whether they at home doing what they want to do or not. This is what people do. So, I say all that to say, in church, to a church woman, a man outside will always appear to be a good option, especially if he is. Because I mean, people can be nice whether they're in church or not. But here's what I always tell people: when women in church meet men, it's always, well, I told him that I really don't want to have sex until I'm married, and that's fine, and that's her allegiance, and that's fair. That's her allegiance. But you got to understand the reason the man can be so relaxed. Like the church guy that you might date, he gonna be like an octopus because he knows both of y'all are supposed to not be doing this. But when you put yourself in this little close quarters and corners, you just like, oh man, you nice looking, attractive, and I think I want to, I this, that, and the other. And so these things start happening. Where the guy outside of church, I've heard women say, well, he doesn't really push me for sex, or he doesn't really say nothing like that or bother me. He's just really nice and he dates me and takes me out. Well, guess what? This is what church women don't understand. Men outside of church often look at women in the church as a prowess project. I repeat, a prowess project. All men like challenges. All men like to hear no, because it is motivation to get yes. Again, no for men is motivation to get yes. So the woman that's out there rolling with him at the club, at the bar, at wherever, this events, whatever, she's out there and look, she's kind of doing her. So in her mind, she's like, look, if you want to get it, just let me know and I'll get it if I want to. And so that's why you'll see the guy that he'll be at the same club or the same bar or the same venue every week, because even though he got the woman, he's there because he knows the women to get are there. So that's why they go. So, but the woman in church is like, she usually can put up a good fight for a bit. She's going to her services. She's doing this. She's saying all this. She's honoring her commitments, so to speak. And then the realistic side of her is, a lot of women in church aren't just women that just grew up on the pews and never had sex in their lives. They're women that have been married. They have came to Christ maybe they got to Christ after 30 years old, 25, 40 and plus, or whatever. So these women aren't strangers to being pleased or having men in their lives and in their world and all this kind of thing. So the man on the street can always hold out and pose. When I say street, I meant outside the church. The guy outside the church can always pose the position of being patient and waiting, and I'm not going to rush you, and I understand I'm going to take you on a date, because he has options to fulfill himself aside from you. You're his prowess project, but he got other options aside of you. If a man got somebody else taking care of his sexual needs, he can take you out and wine and dine you all day. And then when he take you home before you go to Bible study, he go into Gina's house and take care of other stuff. He don't need to worry about all that. So he can pose himself as this person that you are aspiring to get into church. Another thing women got to understand: men that come to church, they have a heart to be there, not you pulling them by the arm. Men, I'm going to repeat that again. Men that go to church have a heart to be there, or God put something in them there to be purpose to be there. And sometimes that purpose is to be someone's husband, or for their own gift furthering in that man. But, this whole thing with pulling the man in the church is not because if you notice, the young lady said, I want him to be in church. But guess what? He needs to want it. All women got a prayer list. All these women that's in church, they got a list. They will tell you, if you ask them what your list will say, they're going to come out with this list of things that almost seem like Superman that they want in the man to come into their life, which is not bad, but in some cases, that's what it is. And so the thing is, if you're saying you want him to come in church and all this, that's great. It's a great gesture, but you always got to remember, you did not meet him at church. Same with a man that meet women outside of church. If you don't meet them in church, you can't hold people to that. If you agree to deal with them right where they are, you got to be ready to accept that, whether the person come to church or not. I think one of the biggest issues we do as Christian people is we get ourselves into these unrealistic scenarios, and because it seems fun, it seems like a challenge, and it's something that interests us. And one of the biggest things is we'll hear people say things like this: yeah, I mean, I know I'm in church, but I don't really want no Christian woman or no Christian man because I ain't got time for all that hypocritical stuff. And so you look for the guy that's just nice and conformable, but he's not doing the same thing you're doing. You guys aren't sharing the same beliefs. When you don't share the same beliefs, it's not good. I'm just going to be straight. I'm going to repeat that. When you don't share the same beliefs, you're putting a big struggle on yourself. You know, life is easier when people, I'm not saying you can't do things, but life is easier when people have conviction about the same struggle or the same cause. If they don't have conviction about the same struggle, same cause, it's a hard road, because people tend to, when they don't have the same conviction, people tend to, it divides you eventually. It's nothing like somebody telling you, you going to church and you're going to service this morning, and that person is saying, oh, okay, and that person is somebody, let's just say that person, people nowadays, you got devil worshipers, you got people that's into all kinds of things, people that are extreme in their faith, Muslims and Christians, and people that really don't see eye to eye other than seeing each other and being attracted to each other. But they have that commonality. But when it comes down to it, the belief process is everything. If you're not believing the same, whatever you believe in, I don't care. If y'all gonna be the Boston Stranglers, be Boston Stranglers together, because you got a common goal. When you don't have a common goal, it's hard to tug along in a relationship like this lady is talking about. This is nothing new to any woman that's in church and that would love a man to go and take part with her and all that. Like this is a prayer that's been rung out in God's ears for years, period. But the thing is, again, if a man is to be there for you, if he's to really be your husband or whatever, God has the purpose for him to be there. You can't. And again, I'm touching softly, but she said they failed twice. Here's the other side of that. Yeah, you failed twice, and she was honest enough to say she likes it. And this is the part we got to get to be realistic and real with ourselves. Sometimes we get ourselves in situations and things we want to do and beliefs and Christianities and different things, but we don't necessarily do the things that it takes to build up to really abstain. And I can tell you this. Now, I'm just telling you what I know. In Christendom, and I'm not trying to make this no church situation, but in Christendom, there are things you have to do in order to exercise your flesh, to be able to not exercise it. And the things people do, if you're really, really trying to be in Christendom, the things you do to try to keep your flesh down, try to keep it down. People pray, they read their word, and they fast. They pray, they read their word, and they fast. You fast for the cause. So people do that. But if you're not doing that and you just going to church, you just walking in the building and walking out. You walking in, you walking out. But if you're not following those formulas, you're going to come outside and you're going to come out to a reality that, hey, I don't have anything going on right now that can help me abstain from my pleasures and thoughts I got in my mind. There's nothing that's changing that, because I feel weak. And as a result of feeling weak, the guy that's in the street gonna win every time against the church woman. Women you can amen in the back, but if women know, if you're dealing with a guy outside of church and you're in church, bad enough the guy in church, we grown folks, the guy in church, he's human too. He has a member. He's prone to struggle too. But the guy outside the church, almost all the time, the relationship becomes a give and take. I'll go with you to church this Sunday, but my friends and having this event over here, so and so and so and so. I want you to go with me. Or it's the sex exchange. He's doing those sweet nothings and going to church, but at the same time, you letting a little tapping going on, tapping on the front of the church and tapping at home. There's a little bit of both going on. It's like there is an exchange when it comes to the unchurched and the church. The only way they're going to dwell together is if there is an exchange. Believe that. If it ain't no exchange, the unchurched guy don't have no purpose. He just like his purpose is the challenge. I got a few more minutes. The challenge is she's a church woman. I'm not. This is very attractive to me. Let me see if I can channel the good in me to get the goods in her. Let me see if I can channel the good in me long enough to get the good in her. So you got to understand, you playing with a slippery slope when you're playing with somebody that doesn't believe as you believe. They don't have the same cause and convictions. If you love God, like you said, you got a great relationship. If you love God, you got to own it. And you got to take responsibility for your relationship. You can't try to babysit him and put him under your wing and say, he's going to come to God under my salvation. No, it don't work like that. The Bible says work out your own soul salvation. That means deal with you, not him. You can't bring him. You got to let God deal with him. Do you know how hard it is to reach a man? Really, women don't understand. You know how hard it is to reach a stubborn, big, grown man? And I don't care what kind of food you cook him, what kind of sex you serve him. It's hard to reach a man. It's really hard to reach a man because men got so many layers of things in between that throw the whole thing off, that can throw the whole thing off, because men want to do what they want to do. We some stubborn creatures, and men want to do what they want you to do. They don't want you telling them nothing. So just imagine you dictating him. This is one of the biggest things men outside of church struggle with when it comes to church. And women have to understand this. A lot of men, not all, but a lot of men are alpha males. So in their mind, they see you in this church situation like this. It may not be a bad idea to go to church with her. It may not be a bad idea to see this God she's talking about. But in my mind, all I see is a woman that's excited about a man she hears talks every week that has a lot of influence on her. So it becomes a pride issue. The man is like, okay, I will go in there, but I ain't gonna sit up there and listen to what that nigga tell her to do, and she coming home trying to run our house off of what he says. So it becomes a power struggle, and that's why a lot of men and husbands, people that are already married in church, the husband won't even go because he don't want to confront the pride issue that he know exists. And the pride issue is, look, I don't want no other man having that kind of influence over my woman. That's just real talk. Some men, if they're honest to say that, a lot of men, they don't like the fact that there's somebody your girl can go to Bible class one night and that pastor can say one thing and she gonna come home and you gonna hear that for the rest of the night because of the influence. And so you got to understand that's a struggle that has been for men for years. And that's why a lot of women are in the church, married and unmarried, and they sitting in these big churches alone because they got men out in the street and this, that, and the other. They just not men that's really being led and that by the moment. And so they got men at home, but these men don't want to come in there because they don't want to listen to what they don't subscribe to. And so women have to stop playing these games of, let me play trade-off because I got needs and issues and wants. Yes, we all do. But if you're going to sign up for if you're going to sign up for the church walk, you got to sign up for it. No excuses about you having a flesh. You know this, but you see all these things in the word. So you got to say, if I'm going to sign up for this, I got to sign up for it. But you lose these men out here in the street that could be in there if you come out here and say, I'm going to come down off the step and pull my skirt up just a little bit for you, but you're going to come in behind me, you're going to come follow me in here, right? I'll pull the skirt up a little bit. You going to follow me? Yeah, I'm going to follow you. No, it don't work like that. And I'm going to say this before I close. And this is honestly, and this might be crazy coming from me, but like I said, I grew up under this entire premise in a strong way. And I've heard it preached in several ways and this, that, and the other. And I, even though I may have been a partaker and doing a lot of things and lasciviousness, as you guys know in the scriptures, but all those kind of crazy foolishness and the things I may have done, and flesh, all these things, I still have my beliefs as to what I feel really does probably work. I do. And so I really believe a lot of the reasons for this chaos in this world, a lot of the reason for the chaos in relationships in the world and all of this is due to unlawful sex. That's what I believe. I believe unlawful sex is the problem. The problem is the will of God can't connect properly because we out here sleeping with the woman in church's husband. We sleeping with his future wife. We sleeping with so-and-so. His daughter is sleeping with her husband. Everybody is in unlawful positions, but we want these valuable outcomes. And so we are doing this stuff unlawfully. And you got to look at if you step back and look at the picture, if you having sex with people that aren't your spouse, or that you can't say that you want to be or could be, if you're just existing in sex, I'm not talking about you don't want to be with the person, but if you're just existing in sex, you are saying, I'm willing to sleep with whomever spouse I come across. Man or male or female, your husband, her wife, his wife. That's a tough order to think about. If you look at it like that, that's tough to really take in, that you sleeping with somebody else's future, this, that, and the other. So this is why all these entanglements happen, and this is why this lady is in this plight. Because the thing I got out of what she read was she was singing his praises. She said she got a great relationship with God, but she's singing this man's praises, and he's not even on the same accord with her. I mean, he probably is a good dude. You know, he probably is, but he's just not a good dude believing what you want him to believe at this time. And you got to be straight with that. And so, you know, this is the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to go with this. I have my own issues, and I ain't no stranger to sex or the desire of it or none of that, okay? But I will say this, when I sign out on this Friday. There is no victory in premarital sex. Only grace. There is no victory in premarital sex. Only grace. Meaning, your desires will be thwarted in premarital sex. The grace will cover you. God's grace will cover you and make sure that you are cool and you get through and you'll be all right. And yeah, you see another day and you wake up, it's another day and all that, fine. But those things that are really tied to his will for you are the things that come with victory. So don't get confused with victory and grace. So grace is the I got you, but you really foul, but I got you. Victory is you go ahead because you really being stand up, and I'm gonna bless you just for being that person. So that's the thing on that. And so I say to the young lady, this is an age-old problem. A woman in church that wants a man to follow her. So always remember, the first step to identifying a leader in a man is, if he's really a leader and you really want a God-fearing man, guess what? He's going to already meet you where you already want to be. He's going to be there already. You ain't going to have, God don't need your help to bring a man in. He don't need your help. He can deal with, this is a heart matter, and you can't touch his heart. God, the only person can touch a man's heart to get him to be in any position, to take any authority, to take any leadership, whatever. That comes from God. Like I said earlier, your cooking and your coochie. The two C's won't do it. But on that note, all right, y'all, have a great weekend. This week flew by. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back at it Monday. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. This situation here is this was a near and dear topic, because it kind of caused me to think back about the old days, you know. But still, you know, and versus my mindset about how sometimes some things I've done in between there and now. Nonetheless, this is a good topic. And so again, I know we all are imperfect people and we have needs and these issues, but I just want people to think about it. While we are out here sexing and falling and all these other things, you got to consider, is this person my husband? Is this my wife that I'm sleeping with? Because if the answer is unsure and no, you are likely sleeping with somebody else's promise. So on that note, y'all have a great day. Talk soon. Bye.